Hello, I'm writer, producer, director Paul J. Salamoff, and you're listening to me on Sci-Fi Sistas.
Everybody, welcome to the Sci-Fi Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm Tamia Harper, and today I'm here joined by my sister, Subrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
And Yvette Blackman-Tom.
Hello.
And we have a really special guest today. And I know I'm always excited that we have a special guest, but I'm particularly excited about this special guest because he means a lot to one sci-fi sister in particular. And so I'm going to hand it over to Subrina to do the honors because, as they say, this time it's personal. Dun, dun, dun. Subrina, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Tamia. And yes, our special guest tonight is someone that's really special to me. This is the man that taught me how to write a screenplay. This is Paul J. Salamoff, and he has worked in the film industry for 30 years. He's been in film, TV, video games, graphic novel, and he's been a writer, producer, director, executive, and makeup artist. You gotta ask him about that stuff. He's the author of the new book, The Silent Planet, which we're going to talk about in detail today, but he's also written a book called On the Set, The Hidden Rules of Movie Making Etiquette, which we discussed quite a bit when we were in our class together. He is also the author of the graphic novel Hired Guns and Discord, and the one that I would like to see a reboot of, Logan's Run. His short stories and essays have appeared in anthologies including Median Unmade, Tales of Clive Baker's Nightbreed, the Cyberpunk Nexus, Exploring the Blade Runner Universe, and that's the one to read. Paul is currently teaching screenwriting to people like me at New York Film Academy. He's a two-time Bram Stoker Award nominee and has made his feature film directorial debut in 2019 with Encounter, a sci-fi drama based on his original screenplay, which won Best Independent Film at the 46th Annual Saturn Awards. And we're going to definitely delve into that. So it is my great pleasure to welcome my mentor, my teacher, my buddy, Paul J. Salamoff.
I'm so glad I gave you an A.
Because I was such a brown noser in that class. I was definitely...
Yeah, you're one of my favorite students. You really were. I hope none of my other students are listening.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my God. Okay, the class that I'm talking about is it's Screenwriting 101. And it was a 15-week, right? 5 hours? What? We were in there like, wow.
It felt like an eternity.
He did. And there were four of us in the class and Paul basically just threw us in the deep end of the pool. Like, here is final draft, the software on how to write a screenplay. And just, every week I had to come up with like 12 to, 15 pages of new screenplay. Like, didn't know what, here's the book, here's the software, get to it. And then Paul would just like completely destroy you in each class.
Fun.
You did emotionally scarred. We get on and talk to them.
I held it up and cradled them in my arms as I taught them how to write screenplays and become a storyteller.
Yes, you did, Paul. Yes, you did. But now you are the storyteller. And so you're here today to talk about a bunch of stuff, but what we're really excited about is your latest creation, and it's called The Silent Planet.
Yes.
What happened? You're doing novels? Like, what happened?
First, I want to start off with like quoting Star Trek 2 and say that revenge is a dish best served cold. It's very cold in space.
That's what we
get the Star Trek in there right off the bat. So
thank you.
Now we can talk about other stuff. So yes, this is my first novel, Silent Planet, that I wrote with Orrin Nichols, and I'm very proud of this. Actually, very proud of this book. It's sort of like, I sort of describe it to people as like Solaris meets Jurassic Park, I guess would be the best way to sort of describe it. I really love a lot of Stanislaw Lem, who wrote Solaris, is one of my favorite authors, and I've read most of his books and read most of them, and I like the idea of as we talk about, like in my class, about writing with themes. Writing that stories should really come from themes and from characters. And I wanted to explore the themes that were sort of running through Silent Planet there are things beyond human comprehension, right? And how we tend to, because of human hubris, we think we can understand potentially the not understandable, and that we tend to anthropomorphize things that we don't understand. Like, for instance, like, how do you really know what your cat is thinking or your dog is thinking? We sort of bring that, so it's sort of exploring those themes within the context of a very like sci-fi adventure with some very interesting characters and just in a very, rough way what the story is about. It's like sort of in the far future, and corporations can buy planets, and this corporation has bought this planet, called Vega Prime, and they just can't figure it out. And they need to put their, mining, because they want to strip mine it. They want to put their mining equipment, but they don't understand how the world sort of works because the creatures are bizarre and the vegetation's bizarre. So they've had a science team trying to figure it out, but it's been taking years, and they're getting very fed up with it. But it's not like a hostile environment. But our main characters are the supply ship that drops off supplies every couple of months, and they come this one time. There's no signal back from the survey team, and they're basically So they're basically told by the corporation, "We'll find out what happened to him." And these people are not equipped for this. They've never stepped off their ship before, and they turn this very non-hostile environment pretty hostile pretty quickly. So it's sort of mystery adventure, big epic sci-fi, kind of story, but really dealing with like the human condition and so forth.
People working out of their element, people doing things they're not supposed to do. Yeah.
And it's really very proud of it, and I think I'm really enjoying working with Orrin, and I feel like we've delivered. We've already got some really great early reviews on it. That have been very promising. So, and actually sales are starting off pretty good. So it's
I can't wait to read it personally. I mean, that sounds like so much fun. It sounds like a romp, like in some parts, but it sounds like it could be scary in other parts. And I really can't wait to read it.
Thank you.
Sounds a little Star Trek to me.
It is. But how can you not be influenced by things like that? I mean, I've been a fan of science fiction since I saw Star Wars when I'm dating myself, at 5 years old in its original run. And
right.
Wow, Paul.
The youngster.
Yeah. I saw it in Cape Cod. I saw it in Cape Cod, and it was a double feature with Logan's Run.
Oh,
which was great. So the irony that I would go on to write the Logan's Run comic book series is pretty wonderful, actually.
One of my favorite really sci-fi movies. Yeah. Yes. So I still want to know, what made you make this a novel instead of knocking it out as a screenplay?
It's a great question. Here's the thing. I've told you this too in class, that I consider myself a storyteller. Right? Yeah. And finding what mediums fit a story the best. Now, there's a lot of things that, hey, this could work as a movie, this could work as a comic book, this could work as a novel or a short story or so forth. So it's this actually started out as a screenplay that I wrote years ago, and it was always like my favorite. Not like, oh, it's the best thing I've ever written, but it's like, it's my favorite because of I think of what it explores, and I think it's a great expression of who I am as a storyteller. Because I write in a lot of genres. I do write. Believe it or not, I write comedies. I've written sports dramas. I've written lots of horror and lots of sci-fi. But this to me is a really great expression of who I am as a storyteller. And it's just one that when I wrote it, Avatar hadn't even come out yet. So it was like a handful of people that could, probably make this movie, and it would probably cost like $300 million. So,
right.
Okay.
So I started thinking, different ways of approaching it. And ironically, we're actually working on the graphic novel version of it at the same time. So it was Oren who reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to pair up with you because I know you've got lots of stories." And I said, "Well, great. You know what? I'd really love to do this with Silent Planet because I thought it really lent itself to, to being a novel."
Yes.
So I sent it over to Oren, and Oren was like, "Oh God, I love this. I love this." So, we worked together to really, shape it and expand it beyond, what you do in a screenplay, which is sort of reducing story. This was sort of expanding it, but it's not padding. I don't even think that, just throwing a lot of padding. No. This really just now goes deeper into the characters and deeper into the environment, and definitely warrants the page count.
Okay. Right. I was all of that.
Yeah. So the desire was just to be able to share my stories because, I've written over 35 screenplays at this point, and even in the most optimistic, even my most optimistic ways, I don't think I'm going to lens all 35 or 34 of the other ones, or before I push off this mortal coil, as it were. So it's really more about being able to share the stories. And if Silent Planet only lived as as a novel, I would be happy because I love it. Am I beeping? I think I thought my computer was beeping, but so it was sort of a desire of like, yes, this is a great thing. I would really like to, write it as a novel and share it that way. And then, we can always get made into a film afterwards because they love adapting books and the screenplay's already written. So
you're ready to go.
Yeah, it seems to be a win-win scenario as far as I'm concerned.
Well, so now the thing that I'm really interested in with this as well is that you have done all of it. I mean, the graphic novel and the novel now and the screenplay. So when you're sitting down and you're, I think you're going to probably write a sequel to this or something like that, and you're just saying, okay, maybe this is going to be a movie or this or that. Can you see it coming out as another sequel to this going on and in a different form or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I love that you asked this question. So one of the things we're doing, because, a lot of times people just like create a character and then they'll do a lot of different stories with the character. Warren and I have decided that I have actually a lot of stories that are kind of interconnected as a sort of personal joke to myself. And, the thing is, like in my movie Encounter, the creature from Encounter comes from this same planet.
Oh wow.
All right.
And Discord, my graphic novel Discord, which is like a superhero thing, takes place on Vega Minor, and this takes place on Vega Prime. So, and we also reference another like TV series that I had developed years ago that like a lot of the things are mentioned in it. So we're kind of doing like this expanded universe thing and telling different stories.
You're doing some world building,
Yeah, and telling different stories that take place. And look, if it's successful, then we'll start crossing over projects, which will be, really interesting. But Oren and I were kicking around ideas for a sequel to Silent Planet. It was never meant to have a sequel, but once we started talking about like really jumping into the nitty gritty of stuff, it's like, oh God, that would make a really, like what we want to do. So I don't want to repeat myself by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a certain themes that present themselves in Silent Planet that you could really run with. You could really run with and further develop these characters that have already gone on an interesting arc. That doesn't mean that their story ends there. There's more for them, and there's things that I guess are layered, really are layered into into the Silent Planet. That if you really want to like delve into them, it's like, yeah, there's some exploration you can do with some of these things that happen, and what their ramifications would be past the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer
I'm
is yes.
excited. Just okay.
I know,
That's like
right?
opening up a whole. Okay, because Discord. All right. So I got to go back and watch Encounter.
So it's like I just love. I do it for myself. It's not like, oh, look how clever I am, putting this. It's more for myself. You know what I mean? It's to amuse, because look, I mean, as writers, you're sitting behind your desk, you're by yourself, and sometimes you want, like, who's going to notice if I do this? You know what I mean? It makes me happy and keeps me going. But not realizing that, wow, this could actually pay off in a very good way, because once we hit on the idea of really having just an expanded universe of stories that we can tell, that it's like, wow, it's already layered in there. It's not like we're trying to shoehorn something that wouldn't come just like naturally. So, yeah.
But I think, going back to when we were in the class, that was one of the most fun things. So I'm an accountant by day, and that's another job where you're alone doing whatever you're doing all the time. You don't collaborate in accounting. So, when we
legally you don't.
Yeah. So it was kind of called collusion. But so when we were in class and we would really start going on helping each other develop the screenplay, that was some of the most fun parts of the class, where people were giving me ideas that I hadn't even thought of, or what my character would do that I didn't think of, because, the other people in the class are reading your dialogue and they're living the character for you. And now they're giving you a perspective that you never thought of. And it would just be so much fun, where the story was going, because you didn't know. You started the class, and I kid you, Paul.
But I mean,
I had that screenplay.
Yeah. That's the most fun for me in class too, because it's really, I mean, that's the thing is, we talk about, ideas, and we talk about where ideas come from, and we develop ideas and so forth. But, I think you're foolish not to listen to other people's thoughts. And at the end of the day, if somebody has an interesting idea, you're crazy not, and it's something that excites you. It's going to be filtered through you anyways. It's not like they're diminishing you as the creator of the story, because you're going to take that idea, which they riffed off your script to come up with that idea, and then you're going to filter it through yourself. So ultimately you turn it into your idea. And you should look at those as gifts, not as like, oh, why, so, every once in a while you get students who are like, they beat themselves up, like, why didn't I think of that? It's like, it's someone just gave you a gift, you know what I mean? And it's like, you're the one whose name is going to be on it at the end of the day. And it's not like you're a fraud or anything like that, because like I said, you've filtered the idea through yourself, and you've told it the way that fits in your story. And I think that's really wonderful. And I'm going to give a shout out to Matthew Jacobs, who has a Doctor Who connection. He wrote the Doctor Who 8th Doctor TV movie, the one that I started this console for. Matthew has this documentary called Doctor Who Am I, which, by the way, they're having the LA premiere of it right now. Which
I've heard about that.
But I've gone to a bunch of it, and I'm actually in the film. It's a documentary about Doctor Who fans. But I always give Matthew credit for giving me a great note for Encounter in post-production. Wow. And it's like, I had written the script in a very specific way where, there's some interesting misdirection going on within the context of the story. And he comes in and he gives me this note that it's like, it's the opposite of what I was trying to do. I was trying to keep a character hidden, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, I would probably do that. I'm like, why? I don't like. It's like, this is my whole juggling balls to make this work. But we talked about it, and I'm like, you know what? Because it humanizes the main character. It humanizes the main character and puts him in context a little better. And I sort of thought about it. The first thing is like, no. The whole point was you don't know. But it's like, once I really thought about it and started playing with it in my head, I was like, this is actually a really great idea. And all it took was, because we were given reshoot time. So I had like 3 days to do reshoots. All we had to do was refilm like just 2 little bits and change 2 little lines of dialogue. 2 lines of dialogue. That's all we had to change. And it works it works so much better. I mean, it's funny. I almost cannot imagine it the other way. And hey, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, I won a bunch of awards for this movie.
Yeah, you won.
So, so I think it really was the right decision. And it was just being, I'm not run by my ego. I'm run by my creative impulses. And I knew a good idea when I hear one. And as much as it would have been nice to say, no, I know better in this situation, it was the right thing to do. And it made the movie much more human and much more emotional, which is what I wanted in the first place. So, you gotta be able to hear when people talk, like there are notes are going to be given that you're just going to look, then go make that movie. You know what I mean? If that's, but when you get notes that excite you and will enhance your story, I think you're really silly not to listen to those.
I agree. I mean, I just love listening to you. I got to tell you, I'm really geeking out right now because there's
all this cool stuff behind me.
There's that too. You have super cool stuff behind you, but because I'm a writer at heart, and I've never published a story, but I constantly stay in writing classes, and I leave it, I come back, I leave it and come back. But I mean, it's a constant in my life is who I am. So listening to you talk about your creative processes, and then, it's really making me sit here and miss my writing class and miss that collaborative spirit, because I got, it's a group of people that we've been together for a long time, writing together for a long time. And you feel really safe and comfortable with them, and because like you said, writing is such a solitary pursuit, for me, it's always been terrifying. I'm not that person that is like, yes, I'm driven to write. Like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I get my 3 hours of writing it. That's never been me. But I'm driven to write in the sense that I literally lose my freaking mind if I leave it for too long.
Yes.
And I have to do it whether I'm going to publish a story or not. I mean, I've never had a story published. I have some that are good enough that I know that I can send out.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, but I haven't yet. I mean, that's some of it is fear, and some of it is just life. It keeps getting in the way and doing other, whatever. I can make excuses, whatever. One thing I know is that I love it, but I miss that feedback, that give and take. And I was terrified of critique at a really young age. When I first went to college, I went as a photography major, and I was, because I had free reign in the dark room at my high school. Like I had the keys. I would leave my high school grounds at 9 o'clock at night because I'd been in the dark room all the time. But what we didn't do in those classes was sit and critique each other. My teacher just knew that I needed that space and that the dark room was my sanctuary. Nice. Right. And she knew that here's a child who needs this space, and she gave it to me. And when I got to college though, and I sat in on my first classes and people start critiquing me, I was torn apart. I never, I didn't understand this give and take, and I didn't understand that it didn't mean that your work is not good or that you're not good enough. And it took me years to recover from what I felt was this rejection. Cause I'm truth be told, I'm a thin skinned person when you get down to it. Like I put on a bravado, right? So then the value of all this to say that growing up and going into the writing class and being in that environment was the growth that I needed. And I found it, and I treasure it so much now. And so that's why I'm geeking out listening to you. I mean, one of the many reasons why I'm geeking out listening to you. You have a lot to geek out over. So,
I mean, I really love what you're saying there, because, in a lot of it, I'm a big, the 10,000 hours too, right? You know what I mean? When I decide, look, I left being a makeup effects artist making monsters and creatures to write screenplays, you know what I mean? And produce and all that stuff. But I think what happens is and this thing I always talk about, it's a journey. You know what I mean? It's not like instantly you're like this great writer. You work on your craft, and you get better. I wrote like my first 2 scripts I wrote with one of my bosses, makeup effects bosses, Terry Macaluso from Soda Effects, who's like also really big in the toy industry and so forth. And we wrote 2 scripts together, and they were good. You know what I mean? Like decent. You know, I've looked back at them and I'm like, all right, you know, it's like you start somewhere. But then I got like the courage to do my first, you know, script by myself. I wanted to try if I could do it. And it's not great, but you just gotta like, and this is the thing I talk to, you know, like Subrina will know I say this, you gotta give yourself permission to just like know that you're learning. Do you know what I mean? That you're not going to knock it out of the park always the first time, but the more you do it and the more you exercise those muscles and the more you love it and enjoy it, you know, that's what's going to get you through. And what, you know, like sort of going off on like what you wrote, what we're saying is that sometimes you have to walk away from it a little bit and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that can be so important. And it's fun for me. Sometimes I go back to old scripts and I'll read through them, and it's always a relief when I read them. I'm like, wow, this is still pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I'm reading a new script. I'm like, I know I wrote it, but it's like, you know, it almost feels like, oh, did I write this? And just, you know, giving yourself permission to not write when you're not ready to do it, because I'll tell you something. It's always interesting to me when you hear about like the tortured writers, and I'm sure there's something to go with that. It really is. But you know, I've never been tortured as a writer. I've been writing what, like 20 years now, I guess, and I enjoy it. I love it. I'm happy when I'm doing it. And the thing is, it's like, and Subrina will test this too, is that if you get to a point in your script, like you've already mapped it out in your head and so forth, and you know where you're going with the story, you can skip scenes. You know what I mean? If you aren't feeling that scene at that point, because as long as you know that, oh, this is when Joe and Jim talk in the, in the store about this. Well, you know that's what's happening. But if you're just not feeling it, just move on. You can always go back to that scene. I mean, that's why it's always best to know your ending first, anyways. You know, and have something to work to. And I mean, we talk about process. Like, look, every writer is going to have their own process. Mine is very like unusual. Like when I come up with an idea, I lie down. This is what I always say. It's like, you know, when you're like going to sleep at night or waking up first thing in the morning or taking a shower or driving, you know, any kind of, you know, repetitive thing. It's like, it's when your frontal lobe is turned off. So that's like your idea part of your brain is turned on and you can really like play with stuff. So when I go to bed, when I have an idea, I lie down in bed and I imagine myself in a movie theater, right? And I'm going to watch the movie that I want to write. Now, of course, the movie doesn't exist at that point, just an idea. But I'll just start playing with scenes and just playing with them and get as far as I can get. And then the next night, start to rewind the movie and get, you know, watch it again in my head and try to push forward and just keep on doing that. And I don't write anything until I can see most of the movie in my head.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sort of like, so when it comes down to writing it, I'm kind of transposing it because I'm watching the movie in my head as I'm, you know, of course, there's always going to be discovery. There's always going to be changes. And once those characters come alive, like once they come alive, you got to do what they want to do. You start forcing your characters to, you know, you got to be ready that your story could go off in a different direction because once those characters speak for themselves, you just got to go along with it. But, you know, that's what I love about the process. It's exciting. It's exciting to me. I've never gotten writer's block. I never gotten writer's block, like ever. You know what I mean? Like knock on wood. I hope I know whatever, but it's just because I think I do like the pre-production. I mean, it's like, I think it fits that I was I'm a producer as well because you have your pre-production, your production, your post-production. Those are your ideas, you know, the writing the vomit draft and then doing the rewrites and the polishes. You know, that's I sort of see it that way. And if you know, what do we say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Yeah. So I do my pre-production, you know, for my stories before I actually shoot them, which is hunting and pecking on me because I can't type like this. I'm fast. Like I am really fast, but I'm like,
you can't see him, but he's got his two fingers and he's just like stabbing an imaginary typewriter.
He's hunting and pecking fast. fast as it can.
That's
It's the fastest hunting and pecker in the West.
Sometimes I'll look up and I'm like, oh crap. Cause I can't look at the screen sometimes. I'm just like doing this and I look up and I'm constantly like saving,
Yeah.
Oh, God.
After every sentence, I hit it. I just don't even realize I'm doing it because sometimes something just comes out of you.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful and it's like perfectly constructed. And God forbid I'd save multiple drafts of my script, almost every like 2 days or something like that, just in case,
I was doing that once. I was writing and I wrote like three. I worked on these paragraphs, right? And I finally got them and they were beautiful and they were lyrical. And I looked up and my iPad had stopped saving. Like I was like, and I was like, and I lost all of it. And then trying to recreate it, just wasn't the same. So I learned that as well. Make sure I turn off autosave. I don't do autosave.
Yeah, me neither.
Not anymore. Because autosave has
only takes
failed.
one time.
One fail. One time. I mean, because I sweated over that stuff, right? I sweated over those words.
Yeah.
They had a lyricism and a poetry to them and the rhythm, and they were saying exactly what I wanted to say. And I was particularly proud of those two paragraphs. And the shit was gone, and I was never the same again.
I'm giving you a hug. I'm literally giving you a hug.
We're all giving to me a big virtual.
We all know.
I'm giving you a big virtual hug because it's horrible. Like my heart breaks. Like I'll always tell my students, I'm inevitably going to have one student who that wasn't saving new drafts.
Right.
And it's like I'm telling you, if something happens to that draft, you've lost your entire script. Like when I'm finishing with a script, I usually have about 20 different drafts of it. They take up 20 kilobytes of space on your computer? I mean, what is the excuse? It's because worst case you lose. But I'll tell you, that's right. It's like sometimes to me, it comes out just in the most perfect, sublime way. You know what I mean? Like just like lyrical. Like I love that you said. And it's hard to recreate that if you lose it. Like even a sentence. Yeah. It's like.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that was so good. And it's like 2 seconds ago, and I still can't bring it back. So
Paul was so good about telling us all to do that. Each one of us did it at least one time in that class. We were like,
I'm not the type of person who goes like, I told you so. I'm an empath, so I feel horrible. Like, I didn't tell you. I told you not to do it.
Why do we have to save it, Paul? Why do we have to keep it? Why? You just do what I say. Trust me. You'll find out. Find out. But I tell you, that class was just hilarious because I learned so much about that, and what you said about because I was struggling, and you know that. I was struggling with a few different scenes because I had some really sensitive scenes in mind that, I had a lynching scene that I was avoiding. Remember, you told me, because I kept saying, I'm stuck. And you said, you can write around it. Just I said, leave it there. And I had it in red for 3 classes. I was like, the lynch scene. She's going around again. We'll come back to that.
Need the perspective of later on in the story to come back and set things up. You know what I mean? That's the thing is, as a writer, just find out what works for you.
Right.
I mean, there's many ways to skin a cat. There really are. And it just, as long as at the end of the day, you get to where you need to be, then mission accomplished. Mm-hmm. I teach, all these different methods and so forth. But the truth is, I don't use a lot of those methods myself. I don't. I hate writing treatments. I only write treatments when I have to do it for studios or executives and stuff like that. I like doing beat outlines. I just sit down with a pad of paper and I just write it out, and it's that's my little roadmap.
I'm one of your students because that's the only thing I do. I'm beating it out.
It's such a wonderful story, Subrina. I mean, that's the thing is there's been certain stories that have stuck. I've been teaching for about 4 years now, and there have been certain students and certain stories that stuck out to me, and yours was definitely one. And I'm not just saying Look, you know me. I don't blow smoke up people's asses by any stretch of the imagination. I'm always honest with how I think. And your story was wonderful. It was like one of those ones where it's, and I love getting stories that are just different and explore stuff like that. And because at the end of the day, I mean, look, as much as a sci-fi horror geek I am, I love drama.
Mm-hmm.
I love drama. And it was such an interesting story that you were telling that I was like, all right, I could definitely see myself, seeing this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's like, I watched anything. I was just seeing this movie last night called it's Full River Red. It's Zhang Zhimo. I can never remember his name. He did that movie Shadow. He did like Raise the Red Lantern.
Okay.
It's a Chinese
mm-hmm.
that takes place in ancient China, and it's almost like a Knives Out in some ways. It's got sort of that kind of tone. It gets a little dark towards the end, but it's like, I'm like loving it. I'm like watching this movie. It's like, 2 hours and 39 minutes or whatever. And I'm just like completely digging this movie. It was so much fun. And it was like, he's such an amazing filmmaker. But like I said, I'll watch anything. You know what I mean?
So in his class, Paul would come in and tell us whatever movie he saw that week. And of course, he's always asking us, what movie did we see?
Yeah,
I know, movies.
Very rarely was it one.
With his class that had not seen any movie. We were like, oh, yeah, I got to see a movie before I get into class. Paul's going to ask me.
Good, then it's working. I don't get it. I mean, it's not like you guys are like going to some like random school and taking a film class. You're going to a film school.
he would get so pissed off. What? So I actually, being the brown noser that I am, I wrote down every single movie that you mentioned to us in that class. I have the entire list. If you said we needed to watch that movie, even though the next week you would say, did you see the movie yet? Go, no.
And did you watch all of them?
No.
No.
I've been chipping off my list. But what was it? You wanted somebody to watch the movie St. Andrews, right? Wasn't that the movie St. Andrews or something? Nope. And every week you kept asking him, and he kept saying no. And I was like, why doesn't this guy know to watch the damn movie? Because Paul's going to ask him again.
Just watch it for him. I'll tell you what it's about.
Yeah, you were like, you need to watch this movie because it's your script. You need this.
Well, but, I think it's really interesting. I mean, but that's the thing. As a creator, I think what's really interesting because as a writer, I don't want to like repeat something that somebody's done before. I want to tell interesting stories with different perspectives and different points of view. I don't want to just rehash something that's already been done. And I've seen so many friggin' movies. I mean, like my AMC A-list. I mean, I get everything out of it. I mean, I always joke that I'm the reason why MoviePass failed. Because it was a personal challenge.
Thanks, Paul.
It was a personal challenge. Like, wait a minute, you're saying I can watch a movie every day for $10 a month? Let's put that to the test. And they did everything they could to stop me. Like, you got to take a picture of your tickets. You can't see the movie more than once. You can only see it once. And then you had to like sign in, like every time. It was such a pain in the ass. And by the way, MoviePass, stop crawling back to me now. You know, you're getting emails from them. It's like, you have your chance. Like you hurt me. You hurt me with what you did. You know what I mean? I'm not coming back.
I was sitting there going,
AMC treats me so
who
nice.
Are these people that are seeing a movie every day? I was like, how much of this country is able to go see a movie every day?
We're raising
the cheats those kids.
I tell you, when I got to film school, I was like, I have found my people.
Yes.
These people get me. And you would people that talk in dialogue, they refer to another movie to tell you something, and they're giving you a line of dialogue, and you know exactly what they mean.
What's so wonderful about it is that it's inspiring, but it also is relaxing. I mean, like always, it's funny. Look, I'm not a person who's like against taking vacations, right? By any just imagination, but I got to be honest. A vacation for me is sitting in a movie theater and watching a movie. Because I'm not in my head. I'm in the lives of other people, and I'm not thinking about all the things that are going on in my life. I'm just focused on a story, and for me that's relaxing to me. Unless I'm watching a stressful movie. There's some movies I don't ever want to watch again. What was that Adam Sandler movie that was a couple of years ago? The one who was like the he had jewelry dealer. Diamond Dealer. It's a couple of years.
Oh, Uncut
yeah.
Gems. Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. I don't ever want to watch that movie because that was one of the stressful
I like that movie.
It was stressful.
It had the Celtics in it. Come on.
But I think what's interesting too is just from a storyteller point of view, like, you know, I'm not going to like, you know, look, I have an incredible, like I have over 2,000 movies, right, in my collection, right? And they're not all Citizen Kane, by the way, you know, a lot of like really crappy movies, you know, for lack of a better word. I've got my Criterion collection, but I also got like some, you know, let's say less than desirable films. But, you know, it's just about enjoying these stories, but you can find ideas. Sometimes I'll be watching a movie and they'll have a concept that they don't run with. And I'm like, oh, I could have taken this in a different direction. Well, that's a completely different movie. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, you're stealing their ideas. I'm just saying, like, you get inspired by something you see in a film, or you see what not to do. You know what I mean? Like, this didn't work. And I think you can really learn a lot. Well, obviously, but you learn a lot from watching what's come before, but also not trying to have a fresh voice. I mean, look at Everything Everywhere All at Once. When I saw that movie, I saw that the night it came out. Actually, I saw it on a Wednesday night because it came out on Thursday, but they had a screen on Wednesday. I went and saw that, and I knew I saw something special.
Yeah, right.
The audience was applauding during the movie, and then there was an ovation at the end. And I didn't go to a special screening. I just went to the AMC in Burbank, right? And I knew I saw something special, and that was my number one movie all year long.
All year long.
Yep. Really glad that it got recognized for
Me too.
I had to go see it again. Like I saw it like you. I saw it on a Wednesday. Yeah. Me and a friend of mine went, and I was like, I loved it. But I really need to see this again because I don't think I know what just happened.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
But, I mean, I'm not a movie person, and I never go see movies again. I mean, I had to go see that again because I was like, what happened? And then when I saw it again, it was like a totally different movie.
Yeah. You know? The second time I watched it, it was, and it's just, I love seeing a movie like that. And, you know, who would have thought that movie, as much as it deserved what it got, but, you know, people would embrace it.
Right.
It went crazy. There's a lot of people that don't, like, I went to an Oscar party, and there were I was with people that didn't like, you know, the movie and didn't get it and were wondering, like, why is this all so... I fell in love with it as soon as I saw. I mean, I thought it was this incredible story.
I was crying at the end too.
How are you not crying in that movie?
I showed it to my kids, you know, because I bought it on Blu-ray when it came out, and I showed it to my kids, and I was crying again. You know what I mean? And it was just like, and I'm unabashed about the fact that I cry during movies. I like to be emotionally involved with them. I mean, I really do. And that goes along, you know, lines, we talk about that when I'm writing movies too. It's like, I go through the emotions with the characters, and I feel that's how you get like sort of the truth on the page anyways, you know, but that's the whole thing I love about, I mean, look, here's the thing, you know, we talk about our journeys, right? And this, I grew up in a town called Natick, Massachusetts, right? So I'm a masshole. It's one of the biggest sports communities in New England, and a Heisman Trophy winner, Doug Flutie, went to my high school. He was a couple of years older than I was, and so it's like, you know, not to quote like Blade Runner, but it's like, if you're not, you know, if you're not playing sports, you're little people. You know what I mean? and I was a film geek, and you know, me and my friend Lonnie and my friend Seth were like my, you know, now Seth is now a big reality show producer, and Lonnie is a big like TV director, and he's worked on a lot of like big shows and so forth, and but that was the thing. It was, if you weren't into sports, you were kind of like a nobody. And for me, movies were that escape for me. And just being able to, you know, exercise my emotions watching movies and really deeply, you know, feel things, you know, while I'm watching them. I mean, it was always a gift to me. And when I would go see, I mean, like, I have so many reasons. Look, I know how the sausage is made. You know, this is my 34th year in the film industry. Okay. I've worked in so many different aspects, from, you know, like being on the set to being an executive. And, you know, I'm like the least cynical person you'll meet. Like I still, when I go to a movie, I'm a little kid again and just wanting to love it. I don't go to movies to hate them. Mm-hmm. I go to movies hopefully, and it's disappointing when I see a movie that I don't connect with. It really is. I mean, I don't like, I'm not wasting I don't want to go waste my time, but I'm going to give, and as long as a movie is sort of giving it the old college try, that's all I care about. Like in within the context, also within the context of its genre and in the context of its budget, I think you need to take a lot of those things into consideration when you're watching movies, because you can't compare, Avengers Endgame, which I fucking love, to a movie like, what did I just see recently? Movie Inside or something like that. I mean, it's like they're different. They're trying to do different things. They're their own, and you have to, look at a movie on its own merits. Yeah. And I think that's important. I mean, for me with my film Encounter, it's like, look, is it a technically flawless film? No. I mean, the movie was made for under $1 million. It had special effects and all these elaborate special effects and makeup effects and so forth. And it was my first time as a director. But, I still, warts and all, I still love it. And I got to make the movie I wanted to make. I got to make the movie I wanted to make with, with the best of my abilities. And that's all you can ever ask of yourself. It's all you can ever ask of yourself. And it was not made with cynicism. It was made with love, and it was made with care. And, so, and that's the thing is, like, I can see a movie and I can see warts and all. I can see what they were trying to do, but I know that this movie was made for next to nothing. And you know what? Boy, they did. There's a movie called The Endless. You guys familiar with that movie, The Endless? It almost works despite itself. There's like now some bad editing a little bit, and some of the directing isn't the best, but it was such a wonderful, like, little movie, little sci-fi movie that I was just so taken by and enthralled by. And it's like clearly a low budget movie, but these guys just like, and despite all that stuff, I can squint my eyes if the effects aren't bad, and I can still enjoy the human story. And that's always been it for me with why I love this. I feel so lucky I get to work in this industry. Cool.
So you mentioned Encounter, and that is the one that you won a Saturn Award for. So how did you get involved? I know you're still involved with the Saturn Award yourself now, not just you're handing them out to people.
No, I got involved with the Sci-Fi Academy when I was going to school at USC. Like I stumbled upon, I was like at the Norris, there's this theater there called the Norris Theater, which I had classes in and stuff like that, and I was there for film. And there was like something going on. I walked up to the door. I'm like, what's going on in here? And they go, oh, this is a screening for the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. And I was like, I'm not seeing it. My jaw hit the floor. Okay,
really?
I'm like, what? And the guy go, excuse me? And they're like, yeah, we're having a screening. Why don't you? Why don't you come in if you want to see it? I'm like, yes. It was not even Sunday. It was a Sunday, and I jumped in and got involved. They introduced me to the president, which was Dr. Reed at the time, and I became friends with the executive administrator, who's now the president of the Academy, Robert Holguin. And I'm like, wow, these are my people. You know what I mean? And every Sunday they show like movies sometimes before they come out, and the filmmakers would come. So I became like the youth president. They made me the youth president, which was great. And then I was also the film moderator. So anytime they would have people, come down, I would like interview them on stage. And it was just so amazing. And I was involved with them, for many years, and I produced some of the Saturn Awards. But then, then I really had was focusing on my career. So, sort of stay a member and so forth. But it was always like, I want to make a movie that can win a Saturn Award. You know what I mean? Like it was always a dream. Obviously an Oscar would be great, but I'm a sci-fi horror. You know what I mean? It's like my aspirations are more for the genre stuff, and here is basically the Oscars of genre films. So to be able to make a movie, that would warrant that was something that I aspired to, and it took me years. You know what I mean? But
you did it.
Yeah, but I did it, and it really is. It's amazing. I mean, it really is. That statue means more to me than you can possibly understand. You know what I mean? And as a matter of fact, I with Silent Planet, I dedicated the book to Dr. Donald Reed, who was the president, but he passed away. And I dedicated the book to him because I know, I mean, it hurts that he's not around because I know he would probably love this book.
He would be so proud of you.
Yeah. And I know he would because, you know, they were like a surrogate family to me. And I felt really, you know, coming out from Massachusetts and not knowing anybody in the industry. And here I am, you know, getting to interview people like Sam Raimi on stage and William Friedkin and Guillermo del Toro and like just so many like great you know, people that meant something to me. And, you know, like, you know, I started my career as a makeup effects artist. So Tom Savini was my idol growing up. You know, he did Creep Show and Dawn of the Dead stuff in Friday the 13th. And the day I was named youth president, we showed Night of the Living Dead, the remake that he directed, and I interviewed him on stage.
Oh,
like,
wow.
a picture of me in my suit, you know what I mean? With my long hair, because I used to have a epic mullet, which was fantastic.
Nice.
But, you know, dressed, you know.
I would pay money.
Yeah, I want to see that one.
You know, and that's something I do. You know, I think I get that from my mom. My mom was a politician. She was sort of like mayor of our town. She was a selectman. As a matter of fact, just last week, they just named an internship program under her name, which is wonderful.
So
they did a nice
cool.
tribute. She just moved out to California like early, just like months ago, 6 months ago. And they did a beautiful tribute for her because it's funny. My dad was a dentist and my mother was a politician. And I never understood why people didn't like dentists or politicians because everyone loved my parents. Like my dad's patients were like family and everybody loved because my mom really cared about the town. And, you know, I think that's where I get my, you know, being able to speak in front of people and so forth. And I think that really, you know, followed through with being a film moderator, being comfortable, you know, on stage with, you know, some pretty heavy hitters. And you know, like it was funny. I was at a book fair this morning. I ran into Robert Hoagland at this book fair, you know, and the Marcus Brothers who produced the Saturn Awards. And we were talking about, the time he had recommended me to 20th Century Fox, and I interviewed Danny Boyle and Chris. Where's my brain? Captain America. Chris Evans. For the movie Sunshine. Yeah. They're having and Danny Boyle had just flown in, I think, from London, and Chris was thrown in at the last minute. So I thought I was just interviewing Danny Boyle. And so I was at 20th Century Fox, and I had to do this Q&A. And I had all these great questions about, like, Quatermass, because I mean, like, and like all these, and I would ask these questions, and Danny Boyle's, like, eyes would get, like, really excited that I was asking, like, really, like, you know, really interesting questions. And then afterwards, he came up to me and he goes, "Well done, Paul. Well done." Wow. Like that. Like, and he really appreciates the fact that, you know, I care. You know what I mean? I care. I'm not just asking like, oh, here's the generic questions you ask the director.
Right.
I do a lot of research before I would interview people and really try to, you know, cater to what I know they're going to enjoy talking about and what they probably don't get a chance to talk about and sort of like deep dive. And I love that. I mean, like I got to interview Steven Spielberg. I worked in video game marketing for a little bit and I worked on the Tintin video game. So they sent me over to Amblin and I got to interview Spielberg for like 20 minutes. Just me and him in a freaking room, and it was amazing. It was absolutely. We geeked out about Doctor Who beforehand because I just built my Dalek, and I knew he was a Doctor Who fan because you know he had hired Stephen Moffat to write you know Tintin, and he said, "Well, I hired him because you know Doctor Who fan." I'm like, "Oh, here's my Dalek," and I had gone to school with Oliver Robbins, who you know from Poltergeist. You know, he was one of my friends at USC, so that's one of, you know, Spielberg's, like, you know, kids, you know, like, you know, we talked about that and we geeked out about Doctor Who before we started the interview. And it was wonderful. I mean, who'd have thought, you know, like, who'd have thought as a child I would get to, you know, sit in a room with somebody like Steven Spielberg and have a great conversation with him. And it was, what a cherished moment that was, you know.
That's really cool.
That's what's so exciting about this career is that, you know, in working and stuff like that, I mean, I get to call people who like mean so much to me, you know, and, you know, meant so much to me, especially when I was growing up or inspired me or, you know, were people that I just wanted to be like and get to meet them and get to sometimes work with them or just, get to know them as friends too, which is just absolutely. I was with Peter Atkins today, who wrote, Hellbound.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just so wonderful, and I hadn't seen Peter in a while, but he was always very supportive of me when I started writing and especially writing short stories. And I gave him a copy of my movie and so forth and really like reconnected with him. And it's just, I mean, like even I've had Sylvester McCoy over in my house. I've had Fraser Hines, these Doctor Who people, Noel Clark,
wow.
John Levine, who's Sergeant Benton for all you Tom Baker people. I mean,
wow,
just dropping names.
But it's like it's so.
But
like,
I get that. I get that because, like, I get that on a smaller level. But I get it. Like, I mean, when you're talking about the journey that you've been on, and I really get that from. I mean, I'm constantly inspired by Subrina. And, and I'm so happy that she had you and met you and had you in her life because you inspired her so much and fueled her passion. And I mean, that's basically the story of the sci-fi sisters, right? We're 4 Black women who really like science fiction and fantasy and decided we want to talk about it together. It's a passion of ours. And we just follow wherever it goes. It keeps leading us to all these really wonderful places and to all these phenomenal people that I don't think that a couple of years ago, I didn't think that I would have been interviewing these people or having a moment with these people, having my life enriched by the fandom in the ways that it's been enriched and met half the people that we've met. I mean, it's been a really spectacular journey already. And I feel like it's really just beginning, but and I think that that's the best thing at 50, I'm about to turn 52 this month. And I know Sabrina's going to go, you're so young. And she always says that to me when I do that.
Please say it's young because I'm right with you. I'm right with you.
But all you kids.
But the journey,
that warms my heart.
I feel like the journey, like there's just still so much more. Like I really feel like I'm just going into second gear.
I could not agree with you more, Tamia. I same thing. I feel like I barely scratched the surface, and most people, you look at my resume, you're like, I think you've done enough. You can relax now. It's like, you kidding me? No. I'm just getting started.
You're gonna be like John Williams, right? You're gonna be like John Williams, 92.
92. Wow.
I loved that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, like here's the thing. It's like when you do what you love, you don't, it's not work.
Right.
It's never been work. It's always been, I can't believe that people are paying me to make monsters. You know what I mean? And
right.
People like, puppeteer, you put a puppet on my hand and do things. I can't believe somebody paid me. I wrote this movie and they made it. You know what I mean? And, it's that, what do they call that? That fraud, what do they call that?
Fraud syndrome.
Yeah, fraud syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. But that's the thing. It's like, it was so funny. My son, I said to my son's 15 years old, and I'm like, hey, you want to go see Shazam on Tuesday? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, really? I texted him, like, really? I can't believe that one day I would have a child that I would have to twist his arm to go see a superhero movie. It's like, I have no son.
I mean, it is Shazam, though.
Oh, come on. Shazam movies were great.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, my office.
New York.
This is all toys and comic books, and I have a screening theater in here with 7.1 surround. I got a candy machine and a popcorn machine.
Oh my god!
And, it's all like toys and action figures and models and props and so forth. And it's like, this is where I feel safe, and this is where and I don't look at it, I'm like, gee, I need to grow up. It's like, no, I don't want to grow up. I mean, I like being young. It's disappointing that I'm like older.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, thank God I got a time machine. I can tell you. But that's the thing is it's, that's what's so wonderful about, that I still get excited about, going to see, new movies or meeting new people or, it's just it's so funny. I love to go to like yard sales. I just like it's something I used to do with my dad when we were younger.
That's a native thing. You got that from native.
Yeah. By the way, look. Wait, hold on a second. I'm right back right here. Hold on a second. You can see me. Look what I got for $1. Look what I got for $1. Which
$1.
I got this for my daughter. She's like, I don't know. Look at this thing.
Oh, the Star Wars crochet set. Yes. Oh my God. I remember selling those.
$1?
And I was like, hey, do you want this? She's like, nah, not interested. And I'm like, don't waste your money. I'm like, yeah, I'm buying it anyway. It's mine. I'll find somebody who'll really enjoy it. That can make me one of these. Look, see $1. Or I'm going to do it myself because I know how to sew.
Right.
I know how to sew like nobody's business. I want you to know. So, I might just do it myself. Just maybe we'll just do that right now as I'm
going to be crocheting with a stormtroopers.
Crochet my little BB-8 while
right.
I'm so unabashed about like my geekness. So actually what I was going to say was when I was doing the yard sale, I stopped at this yard sale, right? And there was these two guys talking, and the guy has some like cool stuff, right? When they were talking about movie posters and so forth. And I'm like, can I get in on this conversation? And it turns out that one of them, this is like so great. This is why I love being like just unabashedly myself. I just don't give a crap. So this guy actually works for Universal, and he does posters and stuff like that. And actually, I have a whole ton of posters that he might be interested in buying from me because there's stuff I just don't care about anymore. But in the other guy whose sale it was, he does stuff with heavy metal, and he makes action figures and toys and stuff like that. And I'm like, nice. Dude, you're like my new best friend. And
right?
like hit it off and stuff like that. And like his wife was a big Doctor Who fan, so I was showing him like the TARDIS console and the Dalek and stuff like that. And I wound up giving him a copy of Encounter in my book On the Set, and he wound up giving me one of his action figures.
Oh, cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it turns out like we love the same heavy metal and stuff like that. And he does comic books also, which is
wow.
Like, dude, and he like lives in Burbank,
Oh my God.
I'm like, dude, you're like my new best friend.
For real.
We're gonna grab coffee. We're gonna grab like coffee like next week or something like
That's
that.
Cool.
I love these kind of things.
Yeah.
It's that's why we love this stuff. I mean, it keeps me young. And
that's true.
That's true.
That is very true. Yep.
It keeps me happy, and it's every time I walk into my office, and I'm surrounded by the things I love.
Yep. I'm got a lot of cool stuff in there, Paul.
Yeah, but it inspires me, and because of the TARDIS console, I'm part of the Doctor Who community, and I've done conventions. I brought it all around the United States, and done conventions with the actors and so forth. And at the Gallifrey One convention a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed Chris Chibnall, the producer, on stage in the main hall with the art director and the production designer and. I think it was like one of the writers and one of the directors, and then Matthew Jacobs, and we did a panel. And I'm like, this is like great. I mean, like, this is like
right
the dreams. That's how I'm interviewing the producer of Doctor Who, and not going, give me a job.
Right.
It's so funny. I had a meeting at Disney Plus like a couple of months ago, and it was just after they acquired Doctor Who, and I was like, I go, I heard you guys like acquired Doctor Who, and he goes, oh yeah, I was working on that. I'm like, what do you mean was working on that? He goes, yeah, I was just working on it a little bit, and you had to turn it over to somebody else. I'm like, okay, well, see, you need to get back on that.
Right. Yeah.
And then you need to bring me in. And I'm showing him like my pictures and stuff like that. It's like, well, chances are they're probably not going to hire an American writer. I'm like, chances are we'll test that theory.
Right. No joke.
Right.
I got to write a Doctor Who comic book, like it was a bio comic book for Blue Water Comics, and I got to do I'm really good friends with Nick Briggs, who runs Big Finish, which does like their audiobooks. I got to write one of the audio adventures.
Oh, nice!
And I just actually got asked to contribute to a new Doctor Who book. I've been in a bunch of Doctor Who books and stuff like that, but I've been asked to contribute an essay for a new Doctor Who book that's going to be coming out
That's so
next
cool.
year. Yeah, I just got. Sent
I know our Whovian listeners are just like so excited to hear all of this right now.
Jamal, we're thinking of you.
And Eve England and some other people. Yes, we are.
I like Star Trek also. I like Star Trek. That's my dad was got me into Star Trek. And as a matter of fact, I still think I have his model of the Enterprise that he built when he was younger. Star Trek 2, like Blade Runner is my favorite movie of all time, by the way.
Blade Runner just kicks so much ass on every level.
The theatrical cut, though. The theatrical.
Yes.
That's the one I have.
As a matter of fact, I've written an essay about that, and that's a little controversial. Nice. It's a little controversial, but I feel that it's the truest version of the story. But Star Trek 2, like, look, I have a very diverse group of movies I love, but Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, no joke, has been one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, like, forever. And I just love that movie. I've seen it so many times. It never fails to, disappoint me. Mm-hmm. And I just love the fact, the mere fact that there's so much character development within the context of just that story of characters that have already been around for, over decades or whatever, 2 decades at that point. And, is that right? Decades? Yeah. And the fact that they would have the audacity to do some more character development on these stories, and I love Star Trek too. I love this.
It stands on its own. You don't even need to be a Star Trek fan to enjoy that. It is such a classic. I mean, all the great lines come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it really is. It's like. That was great. That was the comfort food for me growing up. Was Twilight Zone, was Doctor Who, was Star Trek, and Star Blazers. I was a big. I don't know if you know what Space Cruiser Yamato is. It's a Japanese anime, but
I didn't know that.
I just love it. It's
Sabrina might know what that is.
I've heard of it. I don't know it, but I've heard of it.
I moved my Yamato.
He's got so much stuff in his background. You guys, I'm just trying to look and see what everything is back there.
Listeners,
Tron cars.
Hold on. Yeah. The yellow one is from my childhood. All right, look there's the eagle up there. This is my Blade Runner section, by the way.
Nice.
There's my Star Trek section up there.
Oh, you got the Monster Maroon. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, there's my Reliance up there.
Oh, my God. Look at the Daleks. That's a serious collection, dude.
Yeah. No, that's not even. We haven't touched anything. Like, there's a TARDIS console over there.
Oh my God!
It's like movie ready.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen anything yet. There's my other monsters and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Boy, you're missing out, people just listening to the audio of this.
Look at this.
I know. And now our folks are like swearing at us like, this sucks. This is the worst sci-fi sister episode ever.
It's so great. I've been given like a lot of cool props over the years or stuff like that. And I mean, even Philip Siegel, who produced the Doctor Who movie, when he saw that because I brought the TARDIS console to the Gallifrey 1 convention once it was all refurbished and stuff like that, and they had like the actors, and Phil Siegel was there, and he thought it had been destroyed. He thought, the console had been destroyed, and he was so happy to see it. And I had met Phil before through the Sci-Fi Academy. He goes, I had no idea you had this, Paul. And he goes, you know what? Because what I want you to do is, after the convention's over, in a week, give me a call, come over to my place. I want to give you some other things. And he goes, I want you to be like the curator. Because he goes, you have the doctor bag right there. He goes, I have the real bag. So,
oh my gosh.
I go to his place. He gives me, one of the staffs of Rassilon right there.
Oh, wow.
He gave me the staff of Rassilon. He gave me one of the Doctor Who chess sets. And
wow.
Incredible. It's all pewter. It's amazing. I think it's like something like, it was one of the ones where you literally paid like $29.95 and you got.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I got it sitting over there. If you're nice, I'll bring it over and show it to you. And he gave me the real doctor's handbag, and he hands it to me, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, there might be a sonic screwdriver in there."
No.
And I go like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "I'll see you later, Bill." I like ran to my car, and I'm like, "Oh my God, there's a sonic screwdriver!" And so I have that, in a nice case over there. So I have a real sonic screwdriver.
Wow.
Incredible.
Jealous.
It's so magical to me. It's just great. And
we do know. We totally get it. We totally get it with you.
you guys have had some really amazing guests. I was looking at like some of the people you've had, and isn't it just wonderful? Like it's just wonderful that, you know, you really are true fans and you really care about, like, you know, especially Star Trek and so forth. And just to have this, be able to talk to these people that meant something to you, and not like, it's like a geek thing. It's just like, these are somebody who meant something to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to be able to talk to them about it, I think it's so special. It'll never be lost on me. I mean, I don't care how old I get. It's never lost on me when I meet people that, you know, meant something. I was lucky, you know, look, as a makeup effects artist, I worked with a lot of big actors, you know, a lot of A-list actors, but I gotta be honest, it was really the ones that, and I got to work with Bill Paxton on called the Dark Backward, and that had, you know, was Judd Nelson, Laura Flynn Boyle, James Caan. I'm trying to think of who else was in that movie. You know, Bill Paxton and Wayne Newton. That's right, Wayne Newton. One of his cigars, his Cuban cigars. And I never smoked it. I'm not a smoker, but I kept it. I'm like, one day I'll smoke this just for the heck of it, and it was like. Apart. I'm like, okay, so right? You know, like, but working with Bill Paxton, you know, like, and I just loved him. You know, I had wonderful pictures with him, and he was like the person who I would really like hang out with on set because, you know, obviously because of Aliens and Near Dark, and it really, he was a wonderful. Yeah, person.
that was tough.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I mean, look, it's how you just, you know, Lance Reddick just passed away.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's so sad.
Yeah, and he was like, with the Sci-Fi Academy and the Saturn Awards, he was like a real, like, you know, big supporter of Sci-Fi Academy. And, you know, we're talking to Robert. I mean, that was really hit them really hard because, you know, he's so, you know, so I got to meet him at some of the Saturn Awards, and
he was a true fan too.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And it's like, especially with like the John Wick, you know, Wick, which is supposed to be amazing, and then I assume he was probably a big part of the Continental, you know, the movie, the series that's coming out. It's like,
wow,
really?
That was a blow.
That was a heavy blow. Yeah. But I feel you in the joy of it all. You know, I mean, this is the thing that I do that brings me joy. You know, and I mean, I have my day job, and I have, you know, choices that I've made in my life to do what I need to do, right, for the people around me, right, and the people in my life. But this is the thing where I'm just me. I mean, like, and I live in Washington, D.C. It's a, you know, I mean, it's a conservative city compared to Los Angeles and New York and most other cities, you know, and when you're walking around in DC and you don't work in politics somehow, or you're not in the food industry, you know, you are, you know, like, I mean, politics touches everything in DC. Like, people don't understand that it's really, you know, it is our industry, just like LA has, you know, movies, and New York's got fashion, you know, DC has politics, and but, you know, and it affects how people interact and how people dress. Like, there's not a lot of color reflected when you're walking around in the street, unless you're like around a university or something, you know, all these things. So when you're living like as a out and proud geek in this city, it's a really weird thing. And people are just constantly like, my mother is like telling everybody, my daughter has a podcast and they love science fiction. I don't know what they're talking about, but I love it. Yeah. Da, 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 da. You know, and her friends go, oh, well, that's nice. That's sweet. You know,
bless your heart.
And bless your heart, right? Exactly. And every once in a while, you get that person who goes, wait, you love Star Trek? You love science fiction? You know, like, what about Star Wars? I'm like, I love it all, baby. Come on, bring it in. The more, the better, you know, and then you get to find your true thing. But what I've learned is about that living out loud and proud, right? Like, I just have to be myself no matter what. And that's what leads me to all the joy in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and if anybody could take anything away from this show tonight, I think that's it. Like, you know,
yeah. I mean,
there's four happy people here.
come on, we only get one shot at this life, right?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Who wants to be miserable?
Not me.
That was my whole thing. This was a bucket list thing. I was like, one day I'm going to film school, and I just had to do it. So,
And we're so glad you did, because, you're going to open up the Sci-Fi Sistas production studio. And,
it's a Sci-Fi Sistas production.
This is going to be a sci-fi.
I know I said this before, but having a student like Subrina, I really mean that. I really mean that. This means so much to be on this podcast. It does, more than you guys know. I mean, it really does. This is like this. I won't get emotional on you because I can get very.
Because he does.
Yeah, I do. But it's like I'm obviously very proud of Subrina, and what she's accomplished. And, I was like, I gotta have something that I can be on her show.
I tell you, nothing was wasted in all the time that I've ever spent with you, Paul. And again, tonight was just really great. I was really excited and looking forward to having you on the show. So thank you so much, really, for coming. I just want to say, I was watching the Oscars, of course, like we all, I know you and I did. Oh man, come on, 21 out of 23, right? On the ballot. Oh,
yeah.
You are
I'm good. I'm good. That's my superpower. Okay. That's my superpower.
Well, I won at my party. I had most right. So anyway, I was feeling.
She's not going to tell us what it was, but she's going.
Well, yeah, it was a truncated list, but I had the most. There were 5 of us that got it. Anyway, so you would have been proud of me, Paul, but I didn't have 21 out of 23. But I just wanted to say Daniel Kwan made us a great speech when he accepted for Best Director, and he said that he wanted to thank the people that told him he was a storyteller before he could believe it. And I wanted to thank you tonight for telling me that I'm a storyteller before I was ready to believe it. And so
you crying.
You too.
I know, really, but it was a one of those things that I'll never forget. That was 15 weeks with you. Going through a lot of things that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. Being the only Black female in that class and having, 4 white guys read my shit and tell me whatever, and I'm trying to write a lynching scene. Woo, we were having a good time. Okay, you play the Southern asshole. You play the cop. And they were like hurting. Remember that? I mean, they were like, I don't want to read this dialogue. And all Paul wanted to do was, I want to be Bubba. I want to be Bubba. But thank you so much. That was something I learned so much in that class. I use it all the time. It has helped me even in this, podcasting world. I've had some great conversations with people, and they have told me that I know my stuff, and I'm like, because Paul taught me. So thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck with this. I can't wait to read The Silent Planet and get into these characters that are jumping off the page, and keep us posted. We're going to promote the heck out of this thing for you.
Oh yeah.
No, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate it. I'd love to come back.
So, Yvette, you want to tell folks where they can reach out with their thoughts about if Paul has inspired them to get on the page and start hunting and pecking, or any other thoughts that they have about what they heard on this here show?
Yes. You can find us at sci-fisistas.com. That's SYFYSISTAS.com. Join us on the mothership. That's MUTHASHIP. And the Sci-Fi Sistas Book Club, both on Facebook. On Instagram and TikTok, sci-fi.sistas. And we're also on that Twitter at Sci-Fi Sistas. Become a patron of Sci-Fi Sistas today at patreon.com/Sci-Fi Sistas. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and write a review. We may just read it on an upcoming episode.
Okay, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. We've had a blast. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Subrina. But before we leave out, I got to shout out the baddest engineer in all the universes, and that's Dose, the Anonymous One. He is responsible for the music you hear on our show and our production services. And if you are in need of production services, hit him up on Instagram at dose_the_anonymous_1. And, well, he'll be happy to do some work for you, too. I got to go. I'm starting to trip over my own tongue. Peace, love, and hair grease, y'all. Love you.